Mic check. All right, yo, we back. Another episode. We got the whole Fatherhood's crew today. We should clap for that.
Right.
Yeah.
We had the 2-week hiatus.
Yeah. I mean, look, guys, y'all know how it is. The holidays be fucking shit up. So, like, we do our best to try to jump on even through some of those things, but the last few weeks haven't been it for us. So we hope you enjoyed the throwback episodes. We try to make them as relevant as possible. So would love your guys' feedback if you have any. But today we have a guest. And from what I gather, we'll get into the details, but he's been a long time listener, actually. So we don't do this very often, but we do like to have folks that actually fuck with the pod jump on occasionally. So welcome in Aldo, man.
Yeah.
What up, man? Thank y'all for having me, man.
Tell us a little bit about you, man.
I'm a father, first and foremost.
That's the most important part.
Right.
I'm glad that's where you started, because you would have got the boot.
Yeah, this ain't sisterhood.
Yeah, right.
How many kids?
3. I got 3. 18. He'll be 19 next month. That's my oldest. It's a boy, and my daughter, she's 15, and my youngest son, he's 8. He just turned 8 2 weeks ago.
Nice. So you in the teenage trenches for sure.
Oh my gosh! The crazy thing is, I think the youngest one is probably worse than the 2 teenagers.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see Manny agreeing.
Oh,
that checks out.
Yeah, like all them stories that you be saying, you know, the situations with your children, man. I'm like, yup. I understand. I know exactly what he's going through, So
what? And you're from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you find out about Fatherhood, the podcast?
Honestly, I heard about your guys' podcast was through a guest of yours, Cypha Sounds. I'm a fan of Cypha.
Shout out Cypha, man.
Yep. Yeah, shout out to Cypha. I'm a fan of his and Rosenberg's for their podcast, the One Epson podcast.
Yeah.
And so when he was on your podcast and he like promoted it, I was like, oh, okay, let me check it out. I just want to support. Yeah. And I heard that episode, and I like y'all conversation where y'all was coming from. And I went back all the episodes prior to his, him being a guest, and I've been rocking with y'all ever since, man.
Oh, dope! Nice. Good looking out.
Yeah. So we got a Juan Epper on our hands.
Yeah.
It's funny because we've been meaning to have Cypha back on, but he's too fucking Hollywood these days.
Yeah, What's his saying? He's big in New York. He's
very famous.
He's very famous in New York. Yeah.
Nah, shout out Cypha, man. We gotta get him back. We gotta get it back. And by the way, Cypha, promote our shit again, bro. Fuck. We need more Aldos in our life. You heard?
Yeah.
No, but so you said you got 3 kids, Aldo. Boy, girl, boy, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you mentioned something. There was an episode recently that kind of hit home for you that we did. I think E was sharing some stuff that really connected with experience you had. Do you want to share a little bit about kind of what that was and like how that connected for you?
Oh yeah, man. There was I think E was mentioning kind of like sibling rivalry, with his 2 and stuff like that. And honestly, the whole episode just hit home in multiple ways. That's why I really connected with it. But anyways, the sibling rivalry. Growing up, it was just me and my sister, and we would always just kind of like bicker and fight and then some.
Yeah. And were you older or younger? Or
I'm the oldest.
I'm
the oldest. Yeah. Right. And we would, once again, fight, argue, typical sibling rivalry and stuff like that. And then the discipline from the parents, one might favor the other, whatever the situation is. So I always told myself that when I got older, or when I had kids, I know that sibling rivalry might happen, or they might have disagreements and stuff, and that's fine. But when it comes down to like the fighting, like actual fighting, like there's like some true anger or something there, I was like, nah, I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut it right there, because I don't want them to grow up and have some kind of like hatred. I didn't want to go there because it might be too strong. But yeah, I didn't want them to go that route.
You don't want them to have animosity for each other as they got older.
Exactly. I want them to, be able to obviously grow up with each other and be comfortable around each other, hang out with each other, all of that stuff. And once again, I know that there's, they're going to bicker, one's older, one's younger, boys, girl, all that other stuff. I fully understand all of that stuff. But like I said, I don't want them to have this animosity towards each other to where they're like, like, get away from me. I don't even want to be around you. I don't want to, be in contact with you, anything like that. One example I can give is my daughter, her and my youngest are always messing around, and I always tell her, that's your younger brother. That's like a 7-year age gap. That's his job. Unfortunately, that's his job.
Yeah.
He's gonna mess with you,
Yeah.
And I go, it bothers you. I understand it bothers you. I said, but it's never to the point where you can't stand him. And you want to know how I know? And she's like, how? I said, because every single day when you come home from school, you say, hey, butt face, where's my hug?
That's beautiful.
and my youngest, no matter what he's doing, he right away goes and gives her a hug. And in that moment when that situation, I was kind of getting on her, she didn't believe it. And lo and behold, literally the next day, she gets home from school and those exact words. And when she says it, I look up at her and I go, no que no. And she just starts, smiling and cheesing. And she's like, whatever, Dad, and walked away.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, because the episode that hit home for you was E was talking about how he's struggling with the sibling rivalry and his kids like bickering and having some challenges. It's cool that you're able to have that kind of dialogue with your daughter and be able to like express that. And it sounds like she understood. Do you get any pushback from her around that, or have you gotten any pushback?
Not much, but every now and again, yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, my son, the little one, is un cabrón for sure, but at the same time, I try to be behind him and be like, hey, dude, you gotta chill. That's your older sister. She's gonna be the one that, she'll share her food with him, snacks, whatever the case is. Like, oh, can I have some? If she's eating chips, can I have some? Yeah, go ahead. But sometimes on the flip side, she's like, oh, hey, can I have some? And he's like, no. Yeah. Come on, dude. Like you can't be that way. You know what I mean? Right. And so sometimes she gets a little bit over her head when she's like, oh, well, it's because he does X, Y, Z, and I go, I get it. I fully understand it, but you have to remember, he's only 8. He's younger than you. That's his job, unfortunately. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say, in your social circle, do you find that you have folks that you talk about being a father with, or sharing these kind of stories, or asking advice or anything, or do you generally feel kind of isolated in the parenting world?
It's a little bit of both. Not to get too like all deep in it. Like, I work nights. I work overnights. I've been working nights pretty much since I got out of high school. Mm-hmm. So because of that, like, my social circle just diminished and is almost non-existent. One of my close boys, our family dynamic is very, very similar. Our kids are around the same age. He's somebody that I could talk to, chit chat with, about parenting, fatherhood stuff. Unfortunately, same thing. We have conflicting schedules, so we don't always get to like really chit chat about that stuff. So hearing you guys talk about, your fatherhood situations, it's almost like I get it. I fully understand it. Hence why I'm always reaching out. And I'm like, yo, I might give you guys a little bit, some advice, if you accept it.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, just so to jump on that same question, are you, or do you find it difficult? I mean, granted, you just mentioned your schedule makes it really tough, but if there were opportunities for you to like build with other dads where the schedule wasn't a conflict, is that something you would gravitate toward, or you kind of feel like, that feels a little weird?
I gravitate toward it. it's cool because it's everybody talks about parenthood, and all that other stuff, right? Mom, dad, but fatherhood, no pun intended or pun intended. It's almost like a whole different thing, because when dads get together, we talk about our kids, but we talk about it as if it's regular homeboy conversation banter, like, yo, what up, bro? How'd you, what's going on with you? Shit, man, let me tell you what this kid did the other day. And, and then it just goes from there.
Yeah. Okay. No, and the reason I ask is, we have this conversation a lot, and we get hit up by a lot of folks. Like, they find what we do helpful, which is super dope. Like, we have these conversations. We decided to have these conversations publicly because we felt like it may resonate with people, and having people in a similar life stage that you can relate to is super helpful, right? Even if, like you kind of hinted toward a little bit ago, like, you listen to us because you can relate with a lot of what we are going through, or feel like you can add value by giving some sort of your perspective, right?
Right.
So, and I think that's super powerful because in all of us here, we have Latin connection, right? And so I feel like our people are very, macho and all, like, kind of really to ourselves and can't take no advice from nobody because we're the man of the house and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so us being able to have these conversations, we'll joke a bunch, but we have a lot of serious shit that we go through, and we try to seek each other's counsel, or at a minimum, just allow ourselves to be heard. Right. And I think that makes a big impact. So it's always good to hear from, folks that listen, like, yo, here's how I receive what you're doing, right? Because it's always beneficial. And I'm always curious, like, in the physical, do dads want to congregate with each other? Because we've been
yeah, mind you, this guy's doing some polling right now, some marketing polling.
100%.
100%. Got it.
So do you want to buy this toaster?
Yeah, right.
Manny, just get it out, bro. Just get it out.
Nah, but look, for our listeners, we're trying to put something cool together, where we can have like a meetup almost, right? We're trying to figure out how to do that. Would that be cool? Knowing what you know about us and just like the kind of vibe we bring, like, is that something that, if your schedule permitted, like, you would be interested in kind of attending in person?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, hell yeah. I think the connection is, like, once again, fatherhoods, hip hop, music, all that other stuff. So to be able to get around like-minded individuals, all with children of varying ages, it'll be like a dope connection.
Yeah.
So if it were to come to fruition, I'm with it.
All right.
And everybody can see Manny's bald head, his new bald head.
I'll show y'all again if y'all missed it.
Oh man.
Let's go.
I wasn't ready.
He told me some foul shit the other day, right, Aldo? So I'm like, we're talking, and this is what I love about E, because he tries his best not to sound like an asshole. And to me, I don't receive it like he's an asshole.
Don't mind my Chihuahua, guys.
But he works at he works at not trying to communicate like he's an asshole sometimes when he's trying to be serious. Yeah. And he goes, yo, I mean, not to be a dick, but you look older with the bald head.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, I don't give a fuck, man. Whatever, bro.
Oh man, dude, I'm over. That's why I got my hair tied back. I didn't want to make you guys feel bad.
Nah, you got that full Mexican hair, bro. Like, that shit don't go away.
Oh, bro, my shit draping.
Yeah, no, that's good. E. Oh shit, he's having a moment with his dog over there.
No, I got all kinds of shit going. I think the kids, someone just got home.
I was gonna ask you about your kids, actually. Like, what's the latest in the sibling rivalry?
Dude, my daughter said some wild shit the other day, man. She I don't remember exactly the words, but it was like, and I don't even know if I should be putting it out there, to be honest.
All right, wait, hold on. Let's not put you in the fucking dog
house. No. I mean, I think it's real shit. I don't think anything's gonna happen, but we got to keep a close eye. She just said something like one day, like I can't wait till he doesn't exist anymore. Something crazy like that about her brother. And me and my wife were like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yo, we keep an eye, because, you know, I don't want to be one of those crazy stories that you see on your feed of some kid that acts, you know, because she doesn't, you know, she might not know what she does, you know, like in the moment, like I've told you guys before, stories where she's throwing something at his head, luckily it misses, or she instantly reacts and like wants to like hit him with something, but like over the head.
Yeah.
She might not know. So I'm like, keep the knives away. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. She might think that this toy over here is the same thing, but it's a real one over here, you know? And so we're always like, hold on, actually, that's one of the kids right now. Y'all talk for a second. I'll come back.
All right. I mean, it's funny. He says that. I mean, I guess it's not funny. But when I was a kid, my brother and I got into some heated argument. I can't remember what it was. And he drew a butter knife. And I was like, wait, what? Is this what we at? Right. And I felt the way for a long time about that shit, because I was like, yo, how you gonna come at me with a fucking butter knife? And so I like, that's real shit. You got to be careful, because and a lot of kids, like, better or worse, like they say shit that comes to their mind because that's whatever, that's their emotion, and that's how they convey it. They don't necessarily really feel that way, but the way, because they express it with so much like vitriol, like, you got to really be careful and take that shit serious.
So yeah, how's my daughter just walked in?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you an example of like the dynamic too. So today, which is a fatherhood story in itself, my daughter has had a loose tooth. She's 5 years old, and she's been excited because in the past, I think she's lost already 2 before. You know, the tooth fairy comes and gives her something, so she's hyped about tooth fairy. You know, dropping off some bread for her. So she's like excited, trying to get the tooth to go. And yesterday, I was like, you know, why don't you take it out? Or do you want me to take it out? I showed her one of those videos of like someone with like a power tool tied to a string. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, hell no. And she didn't say hell no, but she was like, nah, I don't want that. So I was like, all right, well, so this morning I'm like, are you ready? You want to let me do it? And she's like, yeah. So I start going at it. One time I take a crack at it. It doesn't come out. She's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I said, let me try one more time. And she's like, okay. And bomb, I got it out. All right. And then she starts crying. She said it didn't hurt. She just cried out of like just the anxiety of it.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, it didn't hurt. And she was actually hyped that it came out, but she started crying. And then my son, he comes over. No one tells him to do anything. He's like, he grabs her arm, goes, I love you, sissy. And then he goes to grab her hand and gives it a kiss. And I'm like, but then just a couple of minutes ago, earlier that morning, again, my son comes downstairs. He wakes up. She's downstairs. He goes, good morning, sissy. He looks at her, and then she's just looking at him stone cold. He's like, good morning, sissy. All excited.
There you go.
Show your tooth. And she's just looking at him stone cold, like, and I'm like, yo, say something to him for God's sakes. But yeah, she's my little hardcore, man. My little hardcore princess. But
Kay, I mean, you got an only son, an only child, so it's not, you don't have any of those concerns. But does your son, like, because your son is very caring, Kay, right?
Mm-hmm.
What pushes him over the edge where he becomes like, you know, not a bad kid, but like, you know what I mean? Like the other side, the Hyde comes out, or the Jekyll, whatever the bad one is.
He gets more probably sad than angry. Although no, he's gotten mad at me a couple of times for some things. I think if he's if it feels like he's not getting listened to, you know what I mean? Like if I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? If I'm just like dismissing his ideas or dismissing something that a point he's trying to get across without really listening to it, that sets him off. Like he wants to be heard. He wants to like be part of the conversation, and so like the quick no's of like even before he gets it out. If I'm just like, nope, you know, he wants a discussion, right? He at least wants a discussion about it. Yeah. Yep.
Wants to be heard.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole like that. I mean, so the paying attention to thing is really important. I've noticed the more that I'm very thoughtful, mindful about like putting down my phone and not being on the computer,
being attentive.
Yeah. The better our relationship gets. And when I'm doing the opposite, like I notice like there is a little bit of resentment from my son in particular. So that shit is really critical. And it's funny though, because he wants to have the discussion. It's not just like, yo, just give me a short answer, yes or no. No, like I want to talk through this thing.
He wants details. He wants all of that stuff.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's fair.
Here's a real random question, kind of veering off, but you've got a almost 19-year-old son, right, Aldo?
Yes.
Okay. So when did he hit puberty, and how was that transition for you? Because we always hear about like
Kay's
hear more
bracing for it.
Yeah, because we hear. I tend to hear a lot more stories about puberty and girls and going through changes and stuff, and I tend to hear less about how it affects boys. And I'm curious how that worked out for you.
Yeah.
Was it? Did you notice a big difference, or was it kind of smooth?
It was almost like from one day to the next. It might have happened around, if I'm guessing, 13, 14-ish. You know, I don't know. I don't even know if that's normal or if that's late. I don't know. He tends to be a little quiet, but I kind of started noticing when he was like, "Oh, can I go?" He wanted to start going out a little bit more, and who are you gonna go with? And started, giving girls names, and I'm like, okay, I think it's starting to change. So it wasn't bad. He's the crackling voice, and that lasted not too long, but from one day to the next, he went from like, "Hey, can I go to the park?" to, "Hey, can I go to the park?" Like,
yeah.
"Oh, hey, bro,
who are you?
But did you notice? Exactly. Did you notice any like emotional change up of? I mean, the physical is usually easier to see, but I mean, just in terms of kind of, how did he deal with certain things that he may have dealt with, in a certain way one time in his life, and then all of a sudden, he might be tripping out,
Right. Yeah. There wasn't much of a change. Not really. He's never really given me any issues. He's always been kind of quiet. He has gotten testy, with the mouth, as all boys do at some point. You just got to keep them in line. But never too many problems. Not acting out. There was one other thing that just like slipped my mind, but yeah, it wasn't no crazy changes.
Well, give an example. Hold up. Give an example of testy and you keeping them in line. I want to know what that entails.
Oh, I'm Mexican, bro. So we just take the cinto y bola. No, I'm playing. No, if he wanted to go somewhere, but his grades weren't where they should have been, and it was like, "Yo, check it out, homeboy, you can't go." And immediately, he wants to get lippy. "Oh, why? And how come?" Dude, you know the rules. This is why. If you want to go out, if you want to go hang out, whatever it is, you need to get these grades up. And a lot of times, if he was messing up, unfortunately, it was, "This is your punishment. No video games, no TV. Hunker down. And you're gonna do your homework. And if you're lucky, we'll let you outside for a breath of fresh air, until these grades get brought up. And fine. Unfortunately, those were the moments where he would get a little bit testy, because you're like, "Yo, bro, just if my thing in my house is if you're doing what you have to do, if you're on your shit, you don't got to worry about me. Once I get on your ass, that means that something's up. You're right. You're fucking up, and you're not gonna like it. And all three of my kids, they don't like it when I'm on their ass. So that's how that goes."
So, but when you're on their ass, it's just you finding ways to take something away, or is there something else that they're just like, "Oh fuck, here comes dad"?
Most of the time, it just takes something away. Phone, TV, whatever the thing is, video games, whatever the case is. Like, yo, you want it back? You gotta do this, you gotta do that. Like my daughter, for example, messing up in the class right now. All right, look, every day, no TV when you do your homework because you're distracted. And sit down in the kitchen and do your homework. The phone comes to me when you get home from school and before you go to bed. And I need you to start writing down all of these assignments. Because it's always, oh, I forgot. And I'm like, yeah, you forgot, but you didn't forget to ask me to take you to Starbucks. You didn't forget to ask me to go hang out with your friend or to the football game. Like, you didn't forget none of that. But this other stuff
is she allowed social media?
She is, but she got into some trouble earlier this year, and I kind of cut it all off. So for now, it's one of those things that, Mika, it takes one false move to ruin someone's trust. It wasn't overly crazy wild like that, but nonetheless, it was something that was like, okay, you're getting on social media. So,
have you noticed a change in her since? I'm assuming this was many months. You said earlier this year, right? So has she changed in any way for the better, or maybe worse because she hasn't been on it?
Not at all. I told my daughter I tried to go a long time without getting her a phone, just because I didn't want my kids to be this new age of kids just faces in their phones and that. You walk into a room now with a bunch of teenagers, nobody knows how to communicate.
All right.
Even in just a very basic, simple conversation, everybody's so just stuck in their phone, and that's what I didn't want for my kids. So my daughter, for the longest, she was the girl that I'd be, friends' houses, family events. She'd be with her sketch pad, her coloring book, or, reading, just reading books all the time. And I would tell her, she got a little older, and she wanted to start going out more, hanging out with her friends and stuff like that. And I was just like, I really didn't want to, but in this day and age, you can never be too careful. So I caved and I got her a phone. And I said, Mika, do not make me regret getting you this phone. And yeah, there's been moments where it's like, damn it, why did I give her that phone? Yeah, exactly. Like, why? The one kid that used to be at, reading all the time, books are like non-existent now. Now she's always on the phone and this and the third. She's still drawing, that's her thing, but still, like, she's always on the phone now. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes you got to take it away. And if I do take it away, she just knows, all right, I need a break, or B, I messed up. And she doesn't like get all wild and crazy about it.
Let me ask you, you said you held off as long as possible for the phone, right? Mm-hmm. When she was younger, or any of the kids, did you let them watch anything on your phones or on an iPad before, but just not give them their own? Did you do that?
My kids always know that my phone was not a toy. They always grabbed mom's phone. So they always had her phone, YouTube and games. And every now and again, if we were in a situation like, we're at the barbershop, I go, okay, here, play a game just to stay busy. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. Can you repeat the question?
No, you kind of answered it. You said so you did give them the phone, because that's my worry now, because I'm of the same mind frame where I'm like, I'm gonna hold out as long as possible to give them a phone, but in reality, like, they're using our phones to watch YouTube Kids, or they have their own iPads, even though they don't keep the iPads on them. They know that they each have a designated iPad for each other, and they use those. So as they get older, they're just gonna probably reach for it more and more, and we're gonna have to probably take it away, like, officially from them. And I'm just worried that even though I'm saying I'm gonna keep them away from having their own device, they kind of already have access to devices.
You know what the worrying part about it all is? That, and we've done it. I think all of us on here do this. Is that it's almost like we're not allowing them to learn how to be bored, or like, what I mean. We're because we know what a pain.
Shit.
You know what I mean? It's like we know how much easier it is, especially if we're outside or if we're at a restaurant or we're doing whatever, right? And we give our kids the phone to stay busy, or, you know, let us get a breather, that kind of thing. We're all guilty of it. But then we're also stopping them from learning how to just deal with a situation and be bored and try to figure it out. It's tough because we do need those times where it's like, all right, I need you to chill out, right? I gotta handle this. But
it might be
doing
us
them
as parents.
disservice.
We might think it's weird for them to be bored because
Right.
I find
but we know how to be bored.
Oh, for sure. My wife and I, we find ourselves all the time like looking at my son, who's actually pretty good at just playing with toys, versus my daughter, who's not as good as doing that. He'll just go and start playing with toys, and we're like, oh, look at him. Wow. And I'm like, come on, that is nothing special. You know, that's what we all did growing up. But it's like, it's crazy now. And then
but just think about it.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, but even think about like outside of even going to play, but like how many times when we were growing up, you know, if we went somewhere with our mom or whatever, and they sat us down, so, you know, we didn't necessarily have something to look at. You just got to sit there and you got to, you know, daydream or space out or just figure it out until it's time to go.
Figure out how not to get your teeth smacked out of your mouth.
Oh, right. And I don't think, and I think this the new generation, for the most part, you know, we haven't taught them how to do that because we kind of, you know, we want our space, but we also want to feel like, oh my God, poor baby being bored, you know, that kind of stuff. We want them to not feel the pain, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's better for them in the long run, probably.
Right. And that's what I was going to get at, because yesterday I had to take my son with me, which he usually doesn't go to the gym with me because my daughter's doing a recital practice for her ballet classes, and he had to be there the whole time with me. And he took some toys. He took, you know, eventually I knew I was gonna have to give him the phone, but there's a point where he was just sitting there with his, you know, just sitting there like a good little boy, like with his, you know, his hands together, and he just sat there, just like looking, observing. And then this lady passed by, and she's like, "What a good boy." And I'm like, "Yeah, damn." This is it. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, I think for us parents in today's age, that's almost like strange. Like, we're not used to it. I'm used to, you want to see them.
It's a lot.
Yeah, with 100%.
You know? It's a lost art. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you guys, especially because you got the younger ones, do you travel with their like iPads? Like, say you and the family, like, oh, come on guys, let's go, you know, family dinner night, whatever. And do you take the iPads with you so to keep them entertained, or do you just take the kids with you and leave the tablets at home?
We don't take it all the time, but the thing is that if we don't take the tablets, our phone eventually comes out. So the way it usually goes down is that like, let's say we're gonna go out to dinner somewhere, and specifically it's places like going to dinner. But if we were to take them like a Chuck E. Cheese or a park, they're not gonna go on the phone.
Right.
Somewhere like dinner, for example, what we do is we just wait. We don't take the pads usually, the iPads, unless it's like a specific dinner that we know we're gonna be there for a while with like some friends and family, and eventually we'll just give them the iPad. But what it is that we just hold out for as long as possible. We don't mention it. And then once they start mentioning it, we'll be like, well, we'll use that as a bargaining tool for them to eat. Well, you know, we'll be like, well, if you eat this, you know, then after you eat that, then you'll get the phone. But unfortunately, at some point in that time period, they're going to eventually get, you know, the phone or an iPad if we have it. We don't usually take the iPads, which is directly to your question, but it's the same thing. It's the phone.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I've always been like opposed to that. Like, you know, you go out to eat and you see families with their kids, and mom and dad or the adults are talking, and the kids are just, you know, on the tablet. And if they take it away from them, they have like a meltdown. They're freaking out. Yeah, just going crazy. And I was like, I don't want that for my kids. And we never did that. We never did that even with my youngest. Like, we don't do that. Yeah, the phone might come out for the youngest one, despite the the older two, they have their own phones. But when they were growing up, when they didn't have, the phone or the tablet, we never traveled with it because it was just like, no, I want you guys to be able to sit down with adults or even just have conversation amongst yourselves, or maybe even depending on the conversation with adults and, intermingle with that instead of just like, where's the tablet? Where's my tablet? Oh, I'm bored. I need the tablet, while we're at dinner or whatever. I think that the one, what's the word I'm looking for? Not excuse, but
exception.
The exception is my son, for example. He's the youngest. We don't have a lot of our friends or family. They don't have like younger ones his age. So if we might go somewhere where he might be the only kid, it's like, all right, we might take like the iPad, just be like, all right, dude, but we always tell him, no, grab your backpack, take some toys. And then he'll go and grab whatever his flavor of the month is and then put it in there. And then we'll take the iPad with. So he has like a combination, the best of both worlds. So
I mean, as much as we don't, we try to fight it in some way, shape, or form. We got to cave, right? Like the devices are a reality. Kids are going to be gravitating toward them. It's a part of their entire world. Like all of their peers, that's table stakes. It's the norm, right? How you help them not become zombies with them things, I think is the more practical question, right? Like how do you do that? And that's a struggle. But like, for instance, in my house, my 16-year-old, she's driving now. And I've given her like basically free reign of my car unless I have to actually go somewhere. Like, yo, go drive yourself to school. Starbucks is like her every day after school. And I'm like, yo, you don't got a job. What the fuck are you doing? But that's another conversation. But I said, yo, here's the way this is going to go. You can drive the car, but you got to make sure that you go to sleep by 10:30, like head on a pillow, lights off, phone off, basically 10:30. And if you are a minute late, you don't get to drive the car the next day. And for her, that's a big motivator because she wants to make sure she don't have to wait for the school bus, which she never does, or have to carpool with her friends. Like she'd rather take the extra 5 minutes that she can use in the morning to drive, to drive herself and have that flexibility. So she's fucked it up one time. And I'm giving her, I was like, all right, I'll give you a pass because you're still getting used to it. She's getting 3 strikes until the end of the school year, but she's on her job. Like she's handling, and I asked her because we've been doing it for several weeks. I was like, yo, how do you feel? Because she would wake up every morning like stressed, the anxiety that builds up. Like these kids get a lot of homework. So she's trying to juggle all these things. And she's like, like, yeah, I feel better rested. Toward the end of her school day, she's wasted, but she's able, like, I notice her demeanor is different. Before, like, it was very like anxious, I guess is the way to describe it. So, sometimes we can use these different things to our advantage to try to set us a behavior that we know is going to be beneficial for them down the road.
Yeah. I fully agree with that. I understand that. Like when, at times when I've had to take the phone away from my kids or whatever it is that they like, bedtime at this time, just like you, bedtime at this time, no electronics, none of that, go to bed. You can kind of see that they're like more well rested, or just like you said, like not as anxious. They're kind of like more chill, more relaxed. And I think in today's society, it's just the constant looking at the phone, social media, where everything is fast. Everything, the news information is just constantly going. And teenagers nowadays, it's like they got to be in the loop. They got to be in the loop. If you miss something for like a day, you're already behind so much. And and it's just a constant. It's like a
builds up anxiety.
Right. It's a constant machine that just keeps running. It's just like there's no break, and they need a break.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think another worry that I'm really worried about, and we kind of spoke about it, I don't know, I think before we started, in fatherhoods, we've spoken about like instilling like that street smarts, common sense in our kids that maybe they might not get because maybe they didn't grow up the way we all grew up. And so that's a fear by itself, so that's just regular street smarts. But now I feel like with social media and the devices, there's another common sense type of like street smarts that goes with social media, especially with all the AI stuff. You know, like we're seeing AI where it's duplicating people's lips and the face swapping and all this stuff. And it's like, will the kids have a common understanding to be able to differentiate what's real and what's not? Because it's going to be harder and harder, you know, to just kind of have that gut feeling, which is what street smarts is, to know this ain't right, this ain't real, or this is something's fake here, or, you know, I'm not going to go with this. Something tells me this ain't, you know, real. And that's what I'm worried about as well.
It's real shit.
It's something that it's hard to teach. So like this is my little thing that I've been kind of talking about for years amongst like friends and family. So I grew up in Chicago, all that other stuff. Anywhere in the world, if you grow up in the hood, you just tend to develop like a sixth sense for stuff, whether you're involved in the street stuff or not. You just tend to develop some kind of sixth sense. You know, you're aware of your surroundings just out of habit, I guess, naturally, just whatever. And when it was time for me and my lady to buy a house and all that stuff, granted, we wanted to stay in the hood. It's our comfort zone. It's what we know. It's where our friends and family are at. Cool. But just like you mentioned earlier, he's like, you know, we don't want our kids growing up in that environment. So or we don't want them to go through what we did. So you kind of, okay, what do? Well, we hopped over the border, or the state, I should say. I was born in the southeast side of Chicago, and a lot of people in that area tend to move over to Indiana, like the Northwest Indiana section. So when it was time for us to buy a house, we're like, you know what? We had already lived in Indiana. So we're like, you know what? It's not about us no more. It's about these kids. You know, we don't want them growing up in that environment. So with all that being said, my kids are just oblivious to anything going on at the time. You know, me and mom growing up in the hood, we're aware of our surroundings at all times. We know what's going on. Hey, something's going on over there. Let's go, you know, this way. Our kids are just oblivious. And this is just, you know, prior to social media, you know, the cell phones and all that. They're just like oblivious of their surroundings. You know, I'm sitting here telling my daughter stories of, you know, all my friends, the game bangers and all that other stuff. And, you know, having to watch what colors, you know, we wear in different areas. And, you know, my daughter with her innocence, you know, she's like, well, what do you mean, Dad? Like, you couldn't wear certain colors on certain days of the week? Or, and I'm like, no, Mika, this was every day, anytime, you know, there's a party over here on Friday. We're at, okay, I gotta be careful not to wear these colors because, you know, this gang is their rivals, et cetera, et cetera. And so anyway, with all that being said, it's our kids nowadays, they just don't have that sixth sense, you know, aware of the surroundings, just like you said with the AI stuff. They're just so used to what's in front of them, I guess. And unfortunately, it's all media, you know, digital. It's just everything that's on the phones, tablets, things like that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Sorry.
No, it totally does. It totally does. And that's the new frontier of like, you know, we know it's a cesspool for scammers and you know, and just like, and it's a new, you know, in a way, it's educating our children whether we like it or not. And do we like the curriculum in that education? You know what I'm saying? Is what we have to wonder, because we don't really have control. We can't oversee 24 hours of the day of what they're watching. I mean, I can right now because they're little, but I'm talking about in the future. And if right now AI is where it's at, imagine AI and bots and all this different stuff. Like I'm hoping, like my hope is that the only way that we're going to overcome this dilemma as a society is that one of these next generations that come up rebels against it completely and thinks it's whack, thinks that social media is terrible, and thinks that these devices aren't any good for us. I don't know that that'll happen, but that's the only way I see us getting past it.
It's a constant evolution. Like we just adapting to the new is always a challenge, and figuring out how to.
Manny Digital's defending digital.
Well, a little bit, but understanding like how to leverage these things in a good way, right? Like just as much as you can leverage them in a positive way, somebody can leverage it in a negative way. Like everything, like you got all sorts of examples throughout history. It's because it's going to be so well ingrained in our kids and their kids and so on and so forth lives. Fighting it is almost futile, right? So it's really about education. Like, yo, these things can be used for really foul shit. Be careful. But also, here's some examples of some good stuff. And you should be aware of these things because these are going to be instrumental for you to find a way to make money in the future. And all these, society is going to be integrated with a lot of these things if it keeps going the way it's going. So, like, not necessarily, show them like how fucked up it could be, but also like, yo, you got to figure out the balance. And that's all. I think that's all that we can do as parents, not plugged into like creating this tech, but more so just like, yo, like, here's how we observing this shit. Let's try to navigate this as best we can.
Right. Exactly. The thing that I tell my kids all the time is the best teacher is experience.
Right. They don't listen though.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You're gonna, as parents, we try to, help our kids out to avoid certain situations, whether it be, friends, fake friends, boy, girl issues, et cetera, et cetera. And listen, this is what's going to happen. You don't believe me? Okay, fine. Watch it happen. And then it does happen. And they're like, oh, okay. But all we can do is just tell them, we can help them to try to avoid it. What they do with that information or that advice is completely up to them. So
that's a fact. All right. Aldo, last question for you before we get out of here. What don't you see in the Fatherhood podcast that you wish you could?
This guy with his polling.
And buy this toaster. No.
Yeah. Right?
But like what's missing for you, if anything?
Honestly, man, if I'm being honest, nothing. But that's for me. That's
all you can answer.
That's my
for.
opinion. Yeah. Conversation you guys come in every week of just parenting situations and it's just conversation, and you guys give each other advice. I've taken advice from you guys at times. It's some of it has worked. Other stuff is just kind of like, oh well, that didn't go how I expected it to, but hey, fine,
Sorry. We should put a disclaimer.
We gotta we're
right?
not experts.
but it's like I don't see anything that you guys are missing. Once again, personally,
except his hair.
Yeah, that was a choice.
I've been missing it for a long time already.
Right, but that's just me. Okay. I like what you guys bring to the table, and then some. It's dope. Your guests that you have that you bring on. They're cool too. A lot of times there's rappers. It's always dope to hear. Yeah, we know about your albums. We know about this. We know your whole history already. But tell us about that one time when your kids wanted to prank you and, they hit you with eggs when you walked in the door. You're like, oh, man, okay. It's dope to see that father side. But even then, when you guys don't have a guest, it's just as dope.
Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, we appreciate it. And you've been listening, watching for quite a bit. And, when you slide into the DM and like have a thought or whatever, like, trust, like, obviously, one, we see it and we appreciate it, but two, like, it does wherever we can incorporate it, we try to. And worst case scenario, we're like, yo, thank you. Because I mean, the feedback is so helpful to us. Because we're trying to improve this thing as we go. And listener feedback is a critical piece of how we try to shape what we're doing. So whenever you continue to have ideas, thoughts, or even just want to like get some advice through, like, we always are willing to receive it. So thank you.
Anytime, man. Thank you guys for everything, all the episodes, the feedback, the advice, everything. Like I said, I've learned some stuff from you guys. I've taken different approaches, things that have made me think like, oh man, you know what? I didn't think about it that way. Or maybe I should approach this situation this way. Or, I'm an overthinker. So at times I'm like, man, maybe I should. What if I tell my kid this? Or what if they get mad? Or what if instead of just that, there's been times where you guys have just been like, hey, I just flat out went up to my kid and asked them this. And, you got your response. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just give it a go. Yeah. And I've had positive results and just being straightforward instead of just thinking.
Dope.
So
dope. Aldo, man, it was a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Man, thank you guys for the invite, man. Anytime.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, that's a wrap, y'all. Take
Peace,
care.
man. Take it easy, Aldo.
Peace, y'all, man. Thank you once again.
All right,
peace. Appreciate you.